Very early the next morning, I came out of my hut and the first person I saw was my stepmother, standing outside her hut glaring at me. I greeted her, pretending like I knew nothing about last night. I finished my chores and started arranging firewood to prepare breakfast. I sat down to peel the yam I wanted to fry when I remembered last night's event. I became afraid and thought to see Dike, to explain what I saw to him and also thank him. I was still preparing breakfast when my stepmother came to the kitchen and gave me something wrapped in leaves and asked me to give it to Mama Nuku. But I am not done yet. I'll go as soon as I'm done preparing breakfast, I said. Just stop whatever you are doing and do as I have told you and stop arguing with me, she commanded. And make sure nobody touches it. And give it to Mama Nuku directly. Hope you heard me what I have said, she asked, drawing her ear. Yes, I replied and turned to leave. Get out of my sight, you miserable witch, she hissed and cursed under her breath. On my way to Mama Nuku's house, I prayed to the God to send Dike my way because I was scared and felt something bad was about to happen to me. And Dike was the only one I could think of to help me. I looked at what my stepmother gave to me to give her friend and wondered what it could be, when all of a sudden, Dike showed up from nowhere, startling me. Oh, Chimo, I said, holding my chest. Dike, you scared me. He laughed and apologized for scaring me. Where are you going and who gave you that thing you are holding? He asked, looking at me. My stepmother asked me to give it to her friend. I said, looking at it. Okay, give it to me, let me hold it for you while you help with my fruits. No, I can't. I was asked not to allow anyone to touch it. I refused. Don't worry, it's just for a few seconds, he insisted. I gave it to him and started picking the fruit from the ground. After I was done, he gave it back to me, touched my head and told me not to worry, that nothing will happen to me. I was confused and thought for a second who he might be. Then I remembered the previous night and told him what I saw. He laughed and asked me to continue putting the broom in front of my door. But who really are you, Dike? I believe there is more to you than this, I questioned. Don't worry. With time, you will get to know me better, he said, and also reminded me of our dance practice that evening and went his way. I stood there and watched him till he was out of my sight before I took the route that led to Mama Nuku's house. As soon as I got to Mama Nuku's house and gave her the parcel, I turned to leave when I noticed that the parcel wasn't the same parcel my stepmother had given me to give to her. Although they looked the same, I could tell it wasn't the one my stepmother gave me. I left her house and was on my way when it occurred to me that Dike might have changed it. I wondered why he would do that and prayed that my stepmother would not find out. I got home and went straight to my stepmother's hut to inform her that I had delivered her message when I heard her telling Amara that she had renewed the charm she buried at the back of my hut and that my father will hate me and will never see anything good in me. Amara laughed and was so happy that she hugged her mother. I left there unnoticed and went to the kitchen. I sat there thinking of what I had done for my stepmother to hate me this much. Tears flowing freely from my eyes as I realized that my father was being controlled. I thought of digging out the charm to free my father from her grip, but I didn't know how to go about it. Then I remembered Dike. I wiped my tears and then went to ask my stepmother what I would prepare for lunch. She came out and asked me how long I have been around and if I had delivered her message. I lied to her that I was just coming and would love to prepare lunch before going to the stream to fetch water. She looked at me suspiciously and asked me to prepare abacha, then went in to bring the condiment I will use to prepare it. An hour later, I was done preparing the meal and left it in the kitchen. All I could think of was how to see Dike and ask him to help me free my father from my wicked stepmother. I took my water pot and went straight to our meeting point, the place where I fetched firewood. I got there early and waited a little before Dike came. I was happy to see him and at the same time impatient to tell him everything. "Ulamma, what is the problem? You look worried," he asked. And then I told him everything, including the plans they had to get me married to a stranger and what I wanted him to do for me. He kept quiet with his eyes closed for a few seconds, and he said he would help me when the time was right. I walked up close to him and asked him why. He said it was for a reason, that the gods know what to do, that whatever my stepmother did would not have much effect on my father. He asked me to add salt to a cup of drinking water and pour it at the spot where the charm was buried, and that I should do it every day. "But I don't know the spot where the charm was buried," I told him. "Don't worry, you will know when you get there. There will be a piece of palm kernel on the spot where it is buried," he said. "Can we dance now?" he asked cheerfully, and assured me that my father will be fine. We danced for a while. I was already good at some steps, and he also taught me some new moves. It was time to go. I took my pot and fetched water from the stream, then set off to the house. Dike left at the part where he always does, and I continued my journey home. I was entering the compound when I heard the town crier making an announcement about a dancing competition that will take place in 2 weeks. All maidens are required to participate. The king of all kingdoms' son will choose the best dancer as his bride. I was excited and planned to participate. Amara and her mother were also happy about the competition. The moment they saw me, my stepmother ordered me over to where they were and instructed me to prepare myself to teach her daughter how to dance very well and prepare her for the competition. "But I also want to partake in the competition. They said all maidens are to participate in it." She stood up and gave me a dirty slap on my cheek. I stepped back, holding my cheek in shock. "How dare you think of competing with my daughter?" she raged. "And what made you think you are qualified to participate? You dirty thing," Amara shouted, pushing me to the ground. I turned to look at my father, who was sitting outside his hut, but he kept quiet and watched as I was being maltreated. I stood up from the ground and walked into my hut, cleaning my body with my hands. I sat on my bed and thought of how I would manage to participate in the competition. Could this be what Dike has been talking about? Whatever it is, let me find favor in the eyes of the gods. I was still in my hut when I heard a group of girls laughing. I came out and saw Amara and 4 of her friends chatting. I walked past them to the kitchen to fetch water from the pot. While I was coming back, one of them made a remark about me being the only maiden who may not participate in the competition, and they all laughed. I turned face to face with the maiden who made the comment. "Well, let's see who will stop the one the gods have blessed." I didn't know when I said that. I could swear I wasn't the one who said those words. We looked at each other and bursted into laughter. I then left and hurried to my hut. Immediately I got inside, I started questioning myself. How I could tell I didn't say that on my own. "What is wrong with me?" I groaned, holding my head while trying to sit on my bed. Later that evening, when it was almost dark, I took the cup of water I had fetched from the kitchen, brought out the salt I had in my room and added a little quantity to the cup of water, just as Dike had said, and took it to the back of my hut. I searched for the spot and found a piece of kernel on the spot just as Dike had earlier said. I poured the salt and water mixture on the spot and went back to my hut. That night, before I slept, I dropped the broom in front of my door again, and for the first time in days, I slept peacefully. I was awoken by the persistent knock on my door. I stood up sluggishly to answer who it was and then realized it was already morning the moment I opened the door. I came face to face with my stepmother. She looked angry and wondered what could be the problem so early in the morning. "Nne, good morning," I greeted. "What is good about this morning, you evil child?" she fired back. "Who touched the parcel I asked you to give to Mama Unuko?" she questioned, with her eyes fixed on mine. "Nobody did, Nne." "I did as you told me," I lied. "Oh, you are lying to me, right? Don't worry, you will see the other side of me." She snapped her fingers to my face and stormed out of my hut. I came out and saw my father sitting in front of his hut and greeted. "Nna, good morning. How are you, my daughter?" he replied. I stopped on my tracks and turned to look at my father, to be sure I wasn't dreaming, and then he smiled at me, something he hadn't done since my mother died. "I'm fine now," I replied. "Do you need anything? Should I get anything for you?" I was so happy I didn't know when tears came down out of my eyes. "Just get me water to drink." "Yes, now." I ran to get drinking water from the kitchen. Uzo came out of his hut, surprised, because he also heard my father speak to me. He stood smiling with his hand across his chest and watching us. I brought the water and was about to give it to my father when my stepmother came out from nowhere and hit the water out of my hand. "How dare you try to poison my husband? Did he ask you to give him water? Eh? Or you think I do not know that you killed your mother, right? Ha 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 ha. I won't let you succeed this time. You can't kill my husband for me, not when I am still here," she querelled and shouted at the top of her voice. Suddenly, she turned and placed a hand on my father's head. And almost immediately, my father looked at me and asked me what I was doing in front of his hut. I opened my mouth to say something, but before I could, my father already started beating me. Uzo ran over and shielded me and tried to explain to our father that he was the one who asked me for water. But he refused to listen. Instead, he gave me a stench warning, never to come close to him again. Uzo took me to the kitchen and gave me water to wash my face. We sat down and he was consoling me when his mother, Amara, came to call him. "Uzo, father needs you to deliver a message for him," Amara said, while my stepmother pretended to be busy with the firewood. As soon as Uzo left, my stepmother walked up to me saying things I couldn't imagine. "You think you are strong and have powers to manipulate things, right? You don't know who you are up against. You can't harm me like you did my friend Mama Nuku. I will finish you off before you even imagine it. Dare me and see what happens to you, witch," she threatened, and left with Amara laughing. I was stunned and couldn't believe what I heard. What was going on? How did I cause harm to Mama Nuku? How am I being manipulative? I questioned myself. I need answers. I really need to talk to Dike. He needs to explain things to me. I stood up, left the kitchen and went straight to my hut. I took the bead my late mother gave me and left for the stream, where Dike and I always meet. I got to the stream and sat on a log of wood, patiently waiting for Dike. While I waited, I reminisced on everything my stepmother had said. I wondered what she meant and why she accused me of harming her friend. I became worried and anxious and didn't know when I stood up and started pacing back and forth. Finally, Dike showed up, but this time he came with a small pouch. He stood between me and said, "I know what's on your mind and the many questions you want to ask, but hold your peace and know that the gods are with you. But I need to know what's going on with me. I need you to explain why my stepmother accused me of causing harm to her friend." I lamented in tears. "And did you know that my father acknowledged me today? He called me his daughter and asked me to give him drinking water for the first time since my mother died. I narrated everything that happened and how my father changed immediately my stepmother touched his head. I begged him for an explanation, even if it was just a little, so that I could understand. He sighed and held my hand. "Ulam, please sit down. I will only tell you what you need to know for now. The parcel your stepmother asked you to give to her friend was your cage." "What? How do you mean my cage?" I asked. He continued, "If you had given the parcel to her friend, you would have unknowingly given yourself to them willingly." "Chimo!" I shouted with both hands on my head. "That's not all," he continued. "I said what it was, why I tricked you into giving it to me, and that's when I swapped it and gave you something else." "What did you give me? Please tell me." "What I gave you was a cage for her." She lost all her powers the moment she collected it from you, and now she's bedridden," he said with a smile. I was curious to know everything and was about to ask another question when he raised his hand to stop me. "No more questions for today, Ulamma. I hope you heard the announcement yesterday. You should be worried about that and not all these other stuffs," he said nonchalantly. "I don't think I will participate in the competition. My father will not allow me, and my stepmother will make sure I don't. Moreover, I don't have the attire for that," I lamented. "Don't worry too much about all that. The gods shall provide," he assured me. We couldn't rehearse that day because I was not in the right frame of mind, so I decided to go home. But before he left, he gave me the pouch he was holding. It contained very beautiful beads and earrings. He asked me to keep it safe in my hut and that he would tell me when to use it. I became happy because they were very beautiful and I would be the one to use them. I showed him the beads my mother gave me and he took it from me, looked at it and asked me to add it to the ones he gave me, and I did immediately. He asked me to make sure I kept it safe because it's very important. "Don't worry, they are safe with me," I assured him. "But what about my father? What should I do?" I asked him. "Keep pouring the salt water mixture on that spot. It will help him for the meantime. But please, don't eat whatever your stepmother prepares, no matter how hungry you are," he warned. I nodded my head in response and left for home. I got home and outside my hut, leaping and shouting my name. "Yes, what do you want and why were you doing in my hut?" I asked her, already angry because I knew she must have scattered everywhere in my hut. "I need warm water and dry fish. Get some immediately." "And where are you coming from?" she asked. "It's none of your business." "And was that why you entered my hut?" I asked, visibly angry. "Don't ever do that again," I warned her sternly. How dare you talk to me in such manner?" She raised her hand to slap me, but I held it and warned her never to try it again before letting go. She looked shocked and left in a hurry, calling her mother. I got into my hut and as predicted, she literally turned everywhere upside down. I took my time to arrange it and hide the bead Dike gave me. A week later, Dike had already taught me almost everything. I was sitting in front of my hut when Amara came and told me that I should prepare to start teaching her some dance moves because she's now fit to dance. I kept quiet and was looking at nothing when I heard my uncles laughing and walking into our compound. I greeted them as they walked in, and my father came out and joined them where they were sitting under a tree in the compound. They discussed for a while, and then my father summoned me to come. I went and stood before him, and what my father said broke me. "Ulamma, prepare yourself. You will be going to your husband's house in the next 5 market days.